Hello, welcome students. Today we are going to look at the story Quality, which is written by John Galsworthy. Initially, he was a solicitor and he worked for a company as a private solicitor, but after his father's death, he gave up his legal occupation and he devoted his entire time to writing. So, most of the students have been studying Loyalties also as one of the novels in 10th class. This was also written by John Galsworthy. This story, Quality, is about the pathetic condition of the two brothers who are known as Giesler brothers and who are shoemakers. How they have suffered in their life, but still they did not compromise with quality and their principles. So now let's look at the storyline of the story. See, the storyline initially introduces us to Giesler brothers, who are the two German brothers, and they had a small shop. They had two small shops which were joined into one and had a board at the top known as Giesler brothers. And in the showcase, they had only a few pair of good quality of boots which were displayed. And here the author is introduced to them because whenever his father used to give orders to the Giesler brothers, he was the one who used to go there and pick up the boots from there for his father. And here we are said that though the Giesler brothers did not earn much, but the quality of the shoes that they made was the best and it lasted longer. And even the quality of the leather that they used help the shoes to last longer. Here we are said that whenever they used to get orders, they used to engage themselves or devote their entire time to making the shoes in such a way that whenever a customer used to come to their shop, it seemed as if the appearance of that customer used to disturb them because they were quite engaged in making those shoes. And they were quite different from other shoemakers because they were uh, such shoemakers who didn't compromise with quality or their principles. However hard time they used to get in their lives, but they never compromised with the quality of the shoes. Now here one day what happened was when the narrator he had complained about a shoe to Giesler brothers that his shoe had creaked, then it was impossible for the Giesler brothers to digest that. First of all, they looked at him. It is a story mainly about the younger Giesler brother, who was the main character. He could not digest that thing, and he said that maybe you may have got those shoes wet. Then he said that you can send me the shoes back. I'll try to repair them, and if I am unable to repair those shoes, I'll get them off the bill. That means I'll return you the money. But this means that he was a man of principles. Then later on in the story, we are also told that once the narrator had gone to his shoes by mistake by wearing the shoes of some other company, which he had very hurriedly once bought from that shop. Immediately, the main character, Mr. Giesler, recognized that it was not the shoes which were made by him. And he immediately poked at one or two places of the shoes to tell the narrator that the shoe was biting him or hitting him at those places. And then due to the embarrassment, the author had to order so many pair of shoes to him. Then here the Mr. Giesler brother had contempted the big firms who used to try to attract the customers towards them by giving a lot of advertisements or a lot of attractive offers and so on. Now, after a long gap, once when the narrator again he peeped into the shop of Mr. Giesler, then Mr. Giesler told that his elder brother had died, and at that time now the two shops which were combined previously had now turned into one shop, and the other part was taken up by some other shop. Then again, the narrator had visited Mr. Giesler after almost 5 years, in which, when he returned to that shop, he found that Mr. Giesler had grown very weak, very feeble, and he could not see things properly. But when the narrator had spent some time with him and ordered him some pair of boots, He thought that because he was weak and he was growing old, it would take a long time for him, and he was apprehensive that how the quality of shoes would be. But he received the boots which were even better, the most, you can say, good quality of the shoes that ever the Giesler brothers had made. And this time the Mr. Giesler had sent him the bill. Usually the bill was sent to the customers 1 or 2 weeks later, but this time when the bill was sent along with the shoes, immediately the narrator realized that maybe he may have some need of money, and he cut his check and sent it to him immediately. Then, after some time again, when the narrator visited his shop, now Mr. Giesler was no more there. His shop was also not there. A big firm had opened over there which were making shoes of royal companies. And he later came to know that Mr. Giesler had died due to slow starvation. He was no more. This shows that though the Giesler brothers had to suffer a lot in their life, they had to starve a lot, but they never compromised with the quality of shoes that they used to make. And although the big firms used to attract the people by large advertisements and so on, but the quality of the shoes that the Giesler brothers made lasted longer. It was the best in town. Now let's look at some other points also. Now let's look at the appropriateness of the title. The title quality is appropriate according to the story because it is a story of the two brothers, Mr. Giesler brothers. And this story is telling us that how these people used to work constantly in order to make good quality shoes. They never compromise with the quality or the integrity of the shoes. And every time, whenever the narrator used to visit the shop, he used to find them indulged in doing their work. Whenever they got some order, they were always busy doing their work in order to make shoes in such a way that they lasted longer than the previous ones. And sometimes the narrator, he used to think about that how the Giesler brothers used to read the soul of the shoes and how they used to reincarnate the shoes into more better ones than the previous ones. And here, because the Mr. Giesler, who was the younger brother, he's the most important character in the story, or the protagonist of the story. He was a man of principles. Whether they starved or not, whether they would starve or not, they never used to compromise on the quality of the shoes. And so, due to this, they used to starve a lot because the big firms, they used to attract the customers by advertisements and so on. So the customers used to be attracted towards those big firms which used to offer, you can say, good qualities and a lot of discounts or lot of offers. And so the quantity of the customers kept on decreasing, and the orders, they became gradually little and little for the Giesler brothers. Ultimately, a stage came when his elder brother also died, because now the two shops which were merged into one initially had now reduced to only one. And so, due to this shock, the elder brother had died. And the younger brother, he, due to constant starvation, had died one day while working. He used to work a lot, day and night, in order to make good quality shoes. And later he died due to starvation, which shows that they were the man of principles who never compromised with the quality of the shoes. Okay, now let's look at the characterization. Here we are told the characterization of Mr. Giesler, as I have told you that what type of men they were. But the physical appearance of Mr. Giesler has been given as a short statured man. He had a yellow crinkly face, and he had red hairs, and his even the red beard was there. His voice was guttural, that means heavy, and it had a German tinge in his language. So he has been described as a man who is made from leather, because he was such a man. Immediately by seeing a shoe, he could pinpoint where the shoe used to bite a man who was wearing that shoe. And he had grey blue eyes with simple gravity of attraction. And this indicates that Mr. Giesler's ideal of being a perfectionist was there. He was a man who used to make shoes with a lot of perfection, and this perfection used to increase day by day. Even when he grew old and he couldn't see things much better, still he made good quality shoes that were better and lasted longer than the previous ones. And his passion for his vocation was, it was a sacred vocation for him. He never gave up his work, and although he knew that the big companies have come into competition, and it was the era of industrial revolution in which big companies were overtaking the smaller companies and trying to attract the customers with the help of advertisements and all, but still he never compromised with his work or with the quality of the boots, though the work was decreasing day by day. But whatever work he used to get or whatever order he used to get, he used to make it, and that too with a whole devotion, with dedication. So this shows his passion for work was great. And he was a perfectionist, as I told you before also. By seeing any shoes, he immediately could make out that this shoe was not made by his own leather, or it was not made by him, and the shoe was hurting that person at this place, at that place. He was an honest person, because once the narrator said that your shoes have creaked, then he could not digest that complaint, but still he said that you send me the shoes, I will repair it, and if I cannot repair, I'll send you back the money. So this means that he was a quite honest person. And though they had to suffer a lot of hardships, because now the work was nearly none for them, still after constant starvation, still they were working constantly in order to make good quality boots. Uh, and due to the circumstances, they had to give away one of their shops, but still with that one shop they carried on their work as usual, with no compromise of work, with no compromise of quality. And about the narrator, we are told that he was a quality conscious, because whenever he used to go to Giesler Brothers shop, he used to wonder that how Mr. Giesler used to make so good quality shoes, and could he read the sole of the shoes, of the leather, and whatever he used to make, whatever shoes he used to make, it was just like a reincarnation of that shoe, as if the shoe has been given a new life to remain alive. So once he had worn a shoe which he had brought from another firm, and he went by mistake to Giesler Brothers shop to give some orders. Immediately Giesler brother caught it and said that it was not his own shoes, it was not made by him. So this shows that the narrator had a, you can say, sense of pity for Mr. Giesler also, and he appreciated his work. Due to that guilt that he had worn the shoes of some other firm, he wanted only two pair of shoes, but he gave more orders. And later, after 5 years also, he remembered Mr. Giesler and he gave the order to him, though he had grown older, and he was very feeble, but still the trust that the narrator had on Mr. Giesler never vanished. And this time, the shoes that were made by Mr. Giesler were more better, and they were of quite fine quality that the narrator could not believe it. And he had a sense of, you can say, humanity and pity for Mr. Giesler also. He had a great appreciation for his work. And then comes the theme. Theme is woes of traditional artisans in industrialized world. Now, since French Revolution had taken place, Industrial Revolution was taking place in England, due to which the people who were working with their own hands, like the artisans, the people who used to work with their hands, all of that was declining gradually, and new industries were popping up with new types of works with machineries and all. In this era, Mr. Giesler and his elder brother, they both were struggling a lot for their survival. The woes of Giesler brothers was that initially the customers used to give them a lot of orders, but due to the popping up of the new shops which were attracting the people with lot of advertisements and all, the work was gradually declining. They knew that the new firms that were attracting the people will not give them good quality shoes, but still people would be attracted to those shoes, and those shoes would soon be worn out. But still, they had complaints against those firms, but still they never compromised with the quality of shoes, or with the lot of effort that they used to put into the work. They never compromised with it. They constantly worked as a perfectionist. And at once, Mr. Giesler said at one time that the hardships, he told about the hardships and the conditions of people like him who were suffering due to the industrial revolution at that time, because good quality machines were being introduced which were producing goods just like that, and sold them in the market by luring the customers. But even though he never gave up, he constantly used to work, and at his old age, when he grew older and older and was suffering due to starvation, he never gave up his work and was constantly working day and night making the shoes. Loss of their sanctum and sanctorum means for an artist, his workplace is a sacred area. It is, as we say, work is worship. So, like I am teaching, this is my work. So, work is worship. For every artist, the work that he is doing is a sacred place for him. So, here where he likes to work undisturbed. So, Giesler brothers had two little shops, which later on reduced to only one, because one shop they had to give up as they could not afford the rent for it later on, as the customers started declining. Now they work from their place day and night, performing all activities from attending to customers, taking the orders, making the shoes, selecting the type of leather that would suit that type of shoes. So in this shop they had a work area, and which for which they used to go up to the through the wooden stairs, and there they used to make the shoes. So here they did not want to be disturbed whenever they were making their shoes. And plus commitment to excellence also is there, because the quality of shoes any customer would buy from that shop was at par excellence. It was a very, very fine work that was made by the Giesler brothers when compared to the shoes which were made by the large firms. But nobody realized this, and gradually the Giesler brothers had lost their identity. Nobody used to give them orders. They were lured by the advertisements, the offers that were made by the big firms for them. So now let's look at the story.